Welcome to another episode of Unima Talks with your Unima representative for Trinidad and Tobago, Sherwin Rakow. Today we have a really awesome guest coming on. She's a puppeteer, she's a comedian, she's an actor, and a Jim Henson Foundation awardee, Miss Pam Severns. And right now we're going to welcome Pam Severns. Hello, Pam. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Oh, there you are. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Are you in the tropics?
I am. That's my beach behind me.
Right. The Sherwin Beach.
Yeah, that's the Sherwood Beach. I'm just sitting in the sand right now.
Yeah, that's nice. Well, I'm in a cabin in the woods. This is my real background.
Yeah. My real background's a little messy, so that's why we're at the beach right now.
Totally.
Yeah. It's great to have you. We've been pretty busy with the puppet vlogs, as you could see before. We had some pretty interesting guests, but I just saved the best one so far, which is you. Mid-season.
Thanks. So you've done 5 of these? Is this the 5th one?
This is the 5th one.
Nice.
5th one. Yeah. No. We had a little gap, but we're back on track.
Yeah. Nice.
Back on track. Yeah.
We're on vacation.
We're on vacation. No, not really, but yeah. Working puppet things. So
yeah.
What we do on this show, we talk about puppets. We talk about your journey to puppets, what brought you to puppets, what you like about puppets, maybe what you don't like about puppets. Who knows? Yeah. How's it been? I know you keep busy.
Yeah, I keep busy. It's been okay. I mean, do you want to hear about how I got into this mess?
Let's start there. I was being casual about it. I was going to fall into the joke. How did you become a puppeteer?
How did you get started? Well,
how did you get started?
I started somewhere. I ended up in puppetry because I was an illustrator. A little over a decade ago, I was illustrating for a job I had as an innkeeper at a bed and breakfast, and I would make the little guest book for each room and little signs for around the inn. And I was finding that I was drawing these characters that were really whimsical and had big bulgy eyes, and I felt like I wanted to bring them to life. So I looked a little bit into animation, and it seemed really tedious and 2-dimensional. And at the time, I was really fascinated with the Muppets and with Jim Henson's work. So I was like, well, puppetry it's very immediate, you can interact with the puppet in real time. And I happened to live in Boston at the time, where there is Puppet Showplace Theater, and they have puppet slams there, which is a night of adult short form puppetry acts. For people who don't know what a puppet slam is. And I got involved there, and I took a filmmaking class at a different school, a writing school, and made a short puppet film. And at first I was a little resistant. I was like, puppetry is a little weird. But the more I leaned into it and really accepted that this is something I really loved, doors opened, and it became my whole life. And I moved to LA shortly after I got into it, and got involved in those puppet slams. And LA is a different scene because it's film and TV, and there's jobs on sets, and it's a different thing altogether. And that's when it really kind of blew up, and I became a performer, which I was not aiming for. It just sort of happened on its own. Well, I made an act. It didn't just happen on its own. I made an act, and then the act ended up in all kinds of shows. So yeah, that's the nutshell version of how it all started. I was just drawing one day.
Just drawing one day, and it just became puppets.
It became my whole life.
It's your whole life. So this is what you do then. You don't have a day job. This is what you do. Puppets.
Oh no! I mean, I wish it was. I've always had to work. I teach music in after-school programs, and I've been lucky a few years where I could get by on TV jobs. But yeah, in terms of live performance, unless you are performing for kids, which I tend not to. I teach kids, but I perform for them. It's harder to figure out a living. I know there's opportunities on cruise ships, and colleges, but that door never opened for me for some reason. So I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, it's a work in progress for everyone. I think. I don't think you could meet a puppeteer that doesn't work TV that can say, and even the ones that work TV that can say, "Hey, this is my day job. This is what I do." Because they, for instance, I know Sesame Street only does like 7 months for the year. So what are you gonna do for the rest of the year?
Right. I think
Yeah,
even less now. I think
even
they
less.
they
Yeah,
really
yeah,
cram it in, and
yeah.
then I think a lot of them teach as
Mm-hmm.
well, or
Well, teach or do
it's
other
a lot.
things. Yeah,
Yeah,
do Muppet things. But
Muppet.
still, it's still it's not like a full-time job. Even I mean, even what you said about it not being a kid thing. So like, if you want to make quick money in puppets, even here, I realize that there's a lot of kindergarten stuff and there's a lot of church stuff, or things like that. And if it's not for you, it's not for you.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. And
It's funny 'cause I really like kids, but
yeah,
I don't know. I just never wanted to make kid art. Even
yeah.
though my stuff it could be for kids. I just had a resistance to it, and probably
Oh,
kind of shot myself in the foot with doing that. But um, yeah, I always wanted to make like kind of because a lot of my stuff is a little raunchy,
yeah,
and I don't know. I just like being able to do that. Whereas with kids, you're not gonna do
you
a
can't do that. Yeah.
you can't do
But
that. Yeah,
tell
parents will
me,
be happy with you.
what made that connection? Because you have like really cool, awesome one-person pieces, like standalone you, but then you have that really cool bunny piece, and then you have that. The first piece I saw you did was a shower piece. That's the first thing I ever saw from you. The, the,
Oh wow.
the
Okay.
one where you do the shower and the legs on the outside.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what inspired you to put puppetry and that kind of content together?
Um, I love comedy. I love like whimsical visual comedy. And just like visual jokes. Sort of like you would see in old silent films, like Buster
Hmm.
Keaton,
Hmm.
who's one
Hmm.
of my heroes. Uses a lot. He uses filmmaking in a way that really adds to a joke,
Hmm.
and he manipulates the medium itself to create jokes, which is like there's as an example, there's one film. I think it's called 1 Week. One of his early shorts, where there's a girl taking a bath, and she
Hmm.
drops the soap over the bathtub,
Yeah.
and she starts to go get it, but then she realizes she's naked, and she looks right into camera, and she's like, "Oh!" And then we see the cameraman's hand come and cover the lens
Uh-huh.
like, from behind the
Yeah,
camera,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
it comes off the camera lens, and she's got the soap again. She's like, "Thanks." Like you don't see that sort of fourth wall breaking now
Yeah.
in um, filmmaking, but anyways, that just as an example of like using a medium in order to
Hmm.
sort of build a joke.
Hmm.
Um, uh, Lost my own train of thought. Puppetry lends itself really well to
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
Um, so, like me in the shower with cardboard legs,
Hmm.
I'm just like, obviously, it could be my real legs, but it's just the absurdity of, all the things you can do with
Yeah.
cardboard legs.
Yeah.
That's really funny to me. And just
It
light,
is.
it's not like, it's not satire, it's not
No.
poking fun at anybody, it's
No.
just like sort of stupid and
It is.
easy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and the bunny act where I'm on the date,
Hmm.
um, that was my first solo act actually,
Okay.
and that came out of seeing another puppetry piece that was just like two tabletop puppets, and the guy was sort of seducing the woman, and I kept
Hmm.
thinking like it would be so funny if he just kept getting distracted by his phone. Like that's what I want to happen here.
Hmm.
So I just made that in my own style.
Hmm.
Um, and I really love the puppet human interaction, like
Hmm.
bringing puppets into the real world, um, because it allows the audience to like enter into that world because
Hmm.
I'm that I'm sort of the lens
Yeah.
which they're seeing. They're more
Hmm.
likely to accept this puppet world, right?
Hmm.
Um, Whereas if it's just puppets and you're just performing for adults, I feel like there's just a tiny bit of resistance. Like,
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
watching a
Hmm.
puppet show. I'm an adult. But it's
Yeah.
like, well, I'm an adult and I'm in this world. So let's do this together, right?
But I mean,
Let's do it together.
it's so good because like when in that moment, the bunny looks. He's in the moment. He's real. He's doing what he's doing, and you bring him to life so well. So like, I even if people say things like, that's a puppet. I don't believe what's happening here. Because I have that sometimes with adults who's like, don't talk to me with that puppet. It's not real. I've had that happen twice. Like people get scared of a puppet and they'll be like, hey, don't do that. But I mean, in a very innocent way because they know it's not real, and then they're
Right.
seeing me behind the puppet. So, but like with that, we don't separate it. It's part of that act. It's part of that show. The bunny is doing
Right.
his thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just there, and you
Yeah.
can't. I'm behind a little stage, so you don't
Yeah.
necessarily
Yeah.
I'm controlling
Yeah.
it, but yeah. And anyone that's um, like had puppets around adults, like they feel real, even though you know
Hmm.
that they're
Hmm.
not. Um, so yeah, so I guess we get away with a lot because of that. Whatever that weird primal instinct we have with moving things with eyes, they seem real to us. I think
Yeah.
it must be survival instinct
I, yeah. I think.
when puppets attack.
Mhm. When puppets attack, it's right. It's funny because you could use anything to be a puppet. You could puppeteer anything, I think.
Yeah,
Once done well, once you bring life to it, it's alive. And um, if it's something with a face with those eyes and that and a nose and a mouth, it just brings it to life. And I think that's the thing. Like our imagination gives us the ability to see it as something that's alive and something that's interacting, even though it doesn't. We very well know it's not. And I saw a piece where a guy was stapling a piece of fabric to a table, and that's his slam piece, and he was basically manipulating that, and it doesn't have a face, but it had so much emotion in that piece just by him like violently stapling this piece of fabric to a table. You get to realize that puppets are so much more than
yeah.
what we think.
It feels like a deep
Yeah, it is
connection
deep.
that
Yeah.
we make. Yeah, and they don't even have to have eyes necessarily.
No,
Like
no.
a piece of fabric can
Hmm.
feel very real.
Yeah.
Or one of my first puppets was a glove puppet,
Mhm.
like a little green guy made out of a T-shirt, and he just had like
Oh.
a round head and two
Hmm.
little arms and
Hmm.
no face.
Yeah.
And that thing was so expressive. Like he
Hmm.
could
Hmm.
look like he wanted to fight. He could
Hmm.
cry. Yeah, like you can do anything with an object, bring it to life.
Yeah. So I've noticed that you do a lot of like vaudeville styled stuff. Like you're always in that style, and I too like that style. I just haven't found my way to it. But
Mhm.
tell me, is that a living in Hollywood kind of thing? Is it a California thing? Is it like it inspires you to do that because you're in a place where it's there?
Where vaudeville lives.
Yeah, where vaudeville lives.
Um, it's well, so the Bunny Act being my
Mm,
first solo act, it sort of happened on accident. Actually, I've
mm,
always had like old timey taste,
mhm,
and I knew I wanted to use this particular singer from the 1920s, one of his pieces as my music for this
mhm,
piece. It's
mhm,
Al Bowley.
mhm,
Um, like the song that people know most is his song "Guilty," which was Anomaly.
mhm,
Um, And I think using that music and then dressing myself kind of for that period
mhm,
automatically put it in the vaudeville running, and I didn't even think about vaudeville until after I'd been performing that piece for a while, and then I realized that vaudeville was still alive and
mhm,
around in
mhm,
LA, and I was kind of in the right place for it.
mhm.
Um, and it made sense. Like I've always loved, yeah, old timey stuff, vintage stuff, old music, like Frank Sinatra. It's
Mhm,
my favorite
mhm,
thing. My
mhm.
dog's named after Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was kind of an accident, but then when I found it, it was like, oh, this is exactly where I belong. This is my scene.
And
You know,
puppetry lends well to that, I think.
it really does.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Um,
ventriloquism is definitely like OG vaudeville.
yeah.
You
Mhm,
know,
mhm, mhm. But I mean, it's blossomed into something else, I think. Where we could get a little weirder with it. Like we could do so much more with vaudeville style stuff. My first piece was something bit on that side too because I did a piece called Smile for Puppetzilla, and it was that is I think it's Charlie Chaplin's song, but Nat King
yeah,
Cole would have written some lyrics to it and did it, and that was my first piece. It was a silent piece to Smile, and it was done in that you know vaudeville style of silent. It's just silent, and it was cool.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it was terrifying because I've never done that before, but it was during the pandemic. You know,
right.
yeah, and
Right.
yeah. So
And
I think we
had
were.
you,
Sorry.
we're both so
Yeah,
excited about
yeah,
puppets.
yeah.
Had you performed a silent piece before, or was that
Mhm.
the first time?
That's the first
No.
time.
Was
Yeah.
it challenging?
It was. It was. I had a good mentor. Liz Harrow was my mentor for that. That was for
Oh yeah.
Puppetzilla when they did the mentorship thing. I think you performed for that show too. I think that's where I first saw
Yeah,
you.
I mentored I mentored someone from Mexico for that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lormiga Titieres, something like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the guy. That's the
Yeah.
guy. Hmm. It was good. It was great.
Yeah.
Um, and that's basically how I found Puppet Slam. Though, like that's my entry into the puppet world was Puppetzilla.
Nice. Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
Puppetsilla's I used to run the Puppet Slam network.
Really?
And so I saw yeah, I worked for Heather Henson for a year and a half during the
Okay.
pandemic actually.
Okay.
And so I oversaw all the Puppet Slams and dealt with the grants and I was
Okay.
basically the grant manager. But
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
I saw all the Puppet Slams in the country basically over
Wow.
that period of time. And the really strong ones are
Hmm.
New York and LA for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Hmm.
everyone, the bar is raising.
Everyone's trying. Yeah. Everyone's
Yeah.
doing
No,
their thing. Yeah.
everyone's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's good.
But it's just the concentration of like
Hmm. Hmm.
sheer, talent is
Yeah.
LA, New York.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good
I
start.
um I I was supposed to get into some puppet slam things in January in New York, but didn't because I chickened out because of the same thing. There's so much going on in New York. There's so much talent and so much happening that like that you just sit and watch. Like I'll just look at it. I'll just look at what's happening.
I'm too scared. I'm not
Yeah,
ready.
I'm not ready. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
happens a lot
New
when it
York is
comes to me.
definitely
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
concentration. They're having a big puppet festival. I think it starts this weekend.
It's Puppet Fringe.
Puppet Fringe.
Puppet
Yeah.
Fringe. Puppet Fringe looks good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I have to work. I have to stay home. I don't-
I know, me too.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. So let's see. I usually ask like really structured, boring questions, and I'm gonna ask them to you now. So
Okay.
I already asked you, how did you get into puppets, right? I don't know if was already covered in that, but I ask everybody why puppets.
Why puppets?
Why puppets?
Um, yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
It's so simple and yet so deep.
Hmm.
Because I think I talked about this a little before.
Hmm.
I Comedy is really what I love, and like if I can make something beautiful and funny,
Hmm.
that to me is like the ideal scenario. And also when it tells a really nice story that
Hmm.
like the audience feels.
Hmm.
Um, it's not always easy to get all those things into one piece.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, so I love jokes. And jokes are like my love language. um, and I think puppetry is just a great medium for comedy because of the way puppets move is kind of inherently whimsical, depending on the style you're using, of course. But like the Muppets are most people's gateway into puppetry, gateway
Hmm.
drug. And they're hand puppets, and they're definitely whimsical and colorful and silly. Um, and also, I was a dancer when I was younger, and I think people that are drawn to movement are drawn to puppetry. People that have a
Hmm.
background in dance, because you get to move.
Hmm.
Sometimes you also have to like figure out weird positions to get into if you're like on stage behind you're trying to not be seen on
Hmm.
stage or on camera.
Hmm.
And I kind of like that challenge. Like I think I'm a very physical person. I like to like
Hmm.
use my body. um for example, like I was in Atlanta for a TV show shoot once, this horror show called Stand Against Evil that was on
Hmm.
IFC.
Hmm.
And I had to operate a puppet it was like a flower that was a cable puppet, so it just had little triggers on it. But I had to push it up through the earth because it had to sort of blossom open. It's like
Hmm.
this evil flower that poisons the town or something. And they had to put me inside of a grave in a graveyard. So they which I loved. Like,
Okay.
so like there were no dead people in this grave, but I was
Hopefully.
surrounded by other graves.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, who knows?
Hopefully.
I didn't see anything, and they had to cover it up too.
Mm,
So they dug this. It wasn't 6 feet under, but it was enough for me to lie down in.
mm-hmm,
Um, they put me in there, and I'm lying down, and they cover it with a piece of wood and
mm-hmm.
cover that with dirt. So I was like in there, and they call action, and I do the thing a few times, and they take it off, and I'm just covered in dirt. Like I like that kind of adventure, and I'm not claustrophobic. I kind of like being enclosed in spaces, so it appeals to me in that way. It's like a weird adventure that most people aren't going to have in their lifetime. Like
It is,
sure,
and I think
squeeze me into a tight space.
hey, I always say if Jim could shoot that swamp piece with Kermit singing Rainbow Connection in a barrel, he was down in a barrel with a tube underwater. Why not?
Yeah, see, I would love that. I'd be like, sure.
And they went even further with that when they did the fire, the scene where they're in the desert and they have like the fire going and everybody's around. So that was a hole dug in the ground. All the puppeteers were in the ground standing, puppeteering, with a LPG tank down there, lighting the fire above.
Whoa! Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, I heard Dave Gould tell that on another podcast, and he was like, that could have exploded at any point in time. It was flammable gas. They were just under there with some boards on top of them, dirt on top of it, and they were puppeteering.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Crazy.
See, I don't know. It's just
and
like
they did that again for a couple other movies. He did the same thing where they had to be on the ground like that. It is what it is. It's the job and it's fun, I think. Some people don't think it's fun. Some people don't think it's fun, but it's fun.
Yeah, I think if you don't like being uncomfortable, apparently I like discomfort to some degree. Yeah.
You like discomfort to some degree.
To some degree. If it's for a good reason. Like in the way that getting up at 4 a.m. to be on a set isn't, like, it's not fun, but it also kind of is.
It's rewarding.
It's rewarding.
It's rewarding. Yeah. It's for the work and it shows. I always say, like, I think everybody I talk to, even my wife and I do, and we talk about when we look at your stuff, we'll be like, that's a lot of work. That's somebody who enjoys what they do. That's somebody who's putting everything into what they're doing, because your pieces are like nobody else's. It's totally different, and it's lovely. It's tasteful. It's funny, and I just can't get enough of like the way it's done. I think about how can I do a solo piece sometimes, like by myself. But I started off doing puppet slam things during the pandemic, and my wife would always be there, so we puppeteer together. So my puppetry journey really depends on us being together, because we feed off one another when we're doing things. But you do your thing by yourself, and that's amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it has its ups and downs, just like collaborating does.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I can't.
You can't get mad at your collaborator when it's you're alone, right? Yeah.
Right, but you can self-hate all day long. Like self-loathing is easy. And also, I can't. Like sometimes I can't see. Like I can't get outside of what my vision is and see it for what it is until it's been until like some time has passed.
Yeah.
Like I recently revisited a piece I created like years ago. There was a video. There's a video on my YouTube of it, and someone mentioned it to me. Like, oh, I watched this piece. I think it's called A Love Story. And I was like, I haven't watched that for a long time. And I went back and watched it, and I was like, this is pretty good. Like, I don't think I even realized at the time. I was just doing what was fun. I mean, not to toot my own horn too much, but it's hard to see what you have is good or totally sucks when you're working on your own a lot. So I kind of envy that you and your wife work so well together. Like that's really nice to have, because she can tell you if something's working or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas I can like punch myself in the face all day over something that might be brilliant, you know, or like think something's brilliant when it's really not. So
I think for me, I do the same thing. I have a lot of self-loathing going on when it comes to things that I'm doing, because I want it to be perfect, and nothing is perfect.
Yeah,
nothing is, and she has to be the one to say, hey, it's good. It's good. Nobody else is going to see that. You see it because you know what it is. Nobody else is going to notice. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to see
Yeah.
like what you have in your head, which is pretty much impossible to achieve. Yeah, I think
It
it's
is.
self-loathing is just like
Mhm.
um, the artist's dilemma. They
It's
make
part.
medication for that.
They do. I like it to some point because it get after I do that, it challenges me to be better and do better, and sometimes and sometimes just leave it alone too. Like this is what that piece has to be. I don't think it could be anything else.
Yeah,
Leave it alone. It's good. You know.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes something doesn't work, and you just have to let it go.
You have to
My
let it
my
go.
short film, which is on Amazon, it's
Hmm.
publicly available. Bunny
Hmm.
Love. I don't love it. I don't. I
Really?
think it's beautiful. I've been thinking about it recently because
Hmm.
I kind of miss filmmaking. Um, and yeah, I don't think it's particularly good. I think it's really pretty and
Hmm.
it's got some good jokes, but it's
Hmm.
not like I can't watch it without seeing what's wrong with it. So yeah, but it's out there, and I
Hmm.
just have to be okay with it.
Yeah.
You know.
I I think some things that are out there that we've done, like eye lines, bug me. Eye lines bug me. Like if those eye lines went right, it bugs me, but nobody else sees it.
No, nobody else sees it.
Nobody else does. They don't notice. They'll be like, "Hey, that was great." I'd be like, "No, the eye lines were off there. What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
definitely performed at shows where I just know the puppetry sucked, like where
Yeah.
my own, not other people's, but mine.
Mhm.
I just feel like it was just sloppy. I didn't practice enough,
Mhm.
and they don't know the difference. Like unless the puppetry's like really bad
Mhm.
and the puppet doesn't seem believable, they
Mhm.
don't know what bad puppetry is versus good puppetry.
Oh, what
So
if it was intentional for it to be that way? Who knows?
yeah, man, it was supposed to suck.
It
That's
was
part of
supposed to.
the
Yeah, it's supposed to
comedy.
suck. You told me too short to suck.
Yeah, too short to suck. So just walk on stage and walk
Yeah.
off.
That'd be actually a pretty cool bit, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
experimental.
Yeah. Like you walk on, it's like, so they told me this needs to be too short to suck, so I'm done. Bye.
So good night.
Good night. Yeah.
Yeah, confuse the
Yeah.
audience.
Confuse them to hell.
Right.
Yeah. Live puppet slams scare me though. Like, when there's so much talent around me, like, that's when the self-loathing starts. Like, ah,
Mm.
this is nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have
Yeah.
a live puppet slam where you are?
Oh, no, but like, when I went to the O'Neill, they would do like pub night with puppet slams every night.
Yeah.
And like
Right.
they would try to get everybody to get up there, and I would never get up there and do anything because it was like,
It's
wow,
scary.
too much
Yeah.
going on here.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like,
that's a
yeah,
concentration of talent
yeah,
too.
it is, yeah, it is, it is, yeah. I didn't think about that, but the next time I get there, they're gonna make me do it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna
I
have to do
mean,
it.
the thing is that it's everyone's drinking, so
Yeah,
they
everyone's
might not
drinking.
even remember.
You can't
And
boo everyone.
the bar is low.
Yeah.
I did a thing actually. Now that you mention it, there's a photo of this. Me and two other puppeteers,
Mhm.
Stevie Namazzi and Christine. I can't remember what her last name is. Both incredible talents.
Mhm.
We got up on stage and just farted into our arms. That was like the
Yeah.
we did that. That was our pub piece. So if we can get away with that, you can do anything you want.
I can do anything.
That's setting the bar pretty
Oh
low.
my, yeah.
Arm
But,
farts.
but that came from drinking, right? That was like a drink.
No, I think it was supposed to be a bit, but I don't remember what made us think that that would be fun. It was fun. It was fun, and
It
people
was
did
fun.
laugh.
It would be fun.
I think there is video of it somewhere too.
I'd
But
like
yeah,
to see it. That's good.
just,
I'll look into that video. That's
yeah,
a good
but
puppy.
just to encourage you, like
Yeah.
that's a
But I
low
mean that
bar.
that was my first year at the O'Neill. So everything was like super new to me. So it was like
Yeah, it's
I
very
it
overwhelming.
yeah, it is. It is. But it's a great place to find yourself, I think. I think I
Yeah,
I think you come like after your first year there you come back a different puppeteer, a different artist, you come back, open to a lot of different things and people should
yeah.
explore the O'Neill a lot more, I think.
I know. Well, it's not
Yeah,
like out there. Like I didn't know about it till I've been doing puppetry for a few years.
that's true.
And for me, it was the same experience. I only did it twice,
Mm,
but my first time, yeah, it kind of like blew the puppetry world
mhm.
open for me. And I remember crying tears of joy afterwards because it was like,
Yeah,
yeah, it kind of is life changing, especially if you
yeah.
really love puppetry. Like I tell everyone they
I
should
didn't
go
want
to
to
it.
come home.
Yeah, you weren't
Yeah.
exhausted.
I was exhausted, but I didn't want to come home. And then Jean Marie had to tell me, Sherwin, the conference is over. You have to go home. She's
Yeah.
like, we won't be here. She's like, we won't be here.
Right. It'll be a different conference.
It will. It will. Yeah.
Yeah.
It will.
Yeah. Well, you can do it again.
I can do it again sometime. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, looking at my time. Time's up. We spent a lot of time here already. Yeah. Well, yeah, but we can do more. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I always ask after the why puppets. I ask this one: what would you be doing if you didn't do puppets?
Oh, that's a really great question.
Yeah.
You said these questions were boring, and they're really not.
Ah.
I don't like that thought. Like, what would I be doing? I have thought about that though. I would be maybe a musician. I don't know. I kind of have to make things, and puppetry is such a good fit, just because it combines all these things that I like: visual, comedy, physical stuff. What would I be doing? Well, before I was a puppeteer, I worked at a bed and breakfast as an innkeeper, and I liked that. That job suits me. It's another job where you move around a lot and do a bunch of different things, and I like to bake. Like that. I'm using my hands when I bake, interacting with people a little bit. So I'd probably be sort of doing something different, but also cute. Like innkeeper, puppeteer.
Something customer service related, maybe.
Sort of. Well, like hospitality. I think I like to. Yeah, or like running an Airbnb. I think I would enjoy that. I think I like, and I see this in performing too. It's like people into a space that I've kind of curated. And filmmaking is similar. You're like building a world, and people are entering into it. So yeah, something probably in that realm where I get to make things pretty and cozy and nice, and use music.
And then you probably would just lead back to puppetry.
Probably, yeah. I think all roads would have led there.
Yeah, it would have led there. I think that puppeteers, that's what it is. Like, no matter what you do, it just happens. It just happens.
Yeah,
it just
I've tried to get a divorce from it.
Why would you?
Well, because there's frustrations. It's the self-loathing artist thing. It's the frustration of like, why am I not making money at this? But it doesn't seem to want to go anywhere. I can't get rid of it.
You are.
It's who I am, I guess. I mean, it's definitely part of it, a part of the whole picture. I am not performing as much. Like I'm kind of burnt out on that. So but even with putting that aside, I find puppetry is still like very present in my life, even if I'm not really doing it.
That's true. I haven't seen anything performance, but you do a lot of workshops. Right.
I've kind of put the energy into teaching other people how to do it. Yeah, and sort of like passing the torch in a way. And I like that. And also teaching is kind of performative. So there's that. I get to use my voice though when I teach.
Oh yeah. That's good.
Right.
But you have a workshop coming up though.
I'm teaching the solo workshop this month. There's a 4-week workshop for like creating a piece. And then I want to teach more. Like I want to teach more writing for puppetry. I feel like that's a missing piece in a lot of puppetry works is like storytelling. And I like teaching that. And I've been thinking about teaching like a short puppet filmmaking class too. Because I seem to be interested in doing that again, doing more filmmaking stuff. And yeah.
There's always puppetry.
What?
I said there's always puppetry. We can't run from it, right?
Yeah, I know.
You're going to do it. You're going to do it.
Yeah, I guess so. Can't get away.
I've been thinking about like, because I'm trying to get like a puppet slam done here in Trinidad. It's the first time a puppet slam is going to happen. And I've been telling people, like everybody who has interest in doing it is like, look at your stuff. Do that. I keep telling them, do that solo workshop with you. Because that's a good starting. Like that's a great starting place for puppet slam piece. You figure out a solo piece and you come perform it, and it'll be great. Yeah, hopefully some of them register and you meet more Trinidadians.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, and also I like the idea of being like a starting point for people,
Mm-hmm.
because that was a frustration I had getting into puppetry. Was it felt like I didn't know about the O'Neill for a long time.
Yeah.
Felt like there wasn't a lot of education opportunities. Like writing for puppetry, I would have totally been all over when I
Mm-hmm.
started, but it didn't exist. So I like introducing people, because it's like the analogy I can think of is the Magic Castle in Los Angeles, which is
Mm-hmm.
like an exclusive magic club. It's like
Mm-hmm.
taking people to the Magic Castle, like, look at this place,
Mm-hmm.
like when you introduce people to the puppet world,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, there's that excitement, and like seeing it through their eyes
Mm-hmm.
is really exciting. So
Yeah.
yeah, send people my way.
Puppets of Irie Puppet Slam, Saturday 9th of September at Chocolate Gypsy Caravan. Puppets, dancing, music, and lots of fun. Brought to you by Puppet Slam Network, S. Raquel Productions, Unima, Trinidad and Tobago, and Kalar Toys. See you there.
So I was talking about Puppet Slam stuff and how like your workshops lend well to that. And I was gonna say, like, you were talking about how, no matter what you did, it brought you to puppets. And even though when you found that you were burnt out, you still find yourself doing something puppets. And I think even though I haven't been doing this for so long, I've only been doing this since the pandemic, like really seriously. Sometimes I get that feeling too. You reach that point where like I want to do something different. I'm not finding that end result that I want fast enough. And I think that's everybody's frustration. Like you want something to happen like quickly.
Yeah,
And it
immediate
doesn't. Yeah,
gratification.
immediately. You want that immediate. And I think with puppets that doesn't happen that quick. Um and going back to the what would you do if you weren't a puppeteer? When you ask other artists, like people have asked other artists, like what would they have like what would they be doing? One of the most interesting things that I've heard when somebody asked an artist that was Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters. Someone asked him, what would you be doing if you were not Dave Grohl? He said, well, I'd probably be a contractor. And it was well thought out in his mind. He's like, I'd be a contractor. I was like, why? He's like, because I was the tile guy before I was a Foo Fighter, before I was in Nirvana. He was the tile guy. And he said, because he's inclined to be a business person or to, figure out ways to make money, he was gonna not stay with tiles. He was gonna like build houses or do other things and build on it and basically build a successful career because everybody needs houses, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure do.
And it was really weird that it was so thought out. Like he had this backup plan all the time, like, hey, houses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's good to probably have a plan B.
But that's
Just
like this is like a crazy plan B though. Like I'm gonna be the tile man.
yeah, why not? I mean, yeah,
Why
you
not?
get to use your hands. You get to be strategic about business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's different. Yeah, think
it's
about
different. Yeah, and people
Dave
that
Grohl.
need to make things,
Yeah,
they have to
I think that's what it is. Need to make
Yeah,
something. For me,
right.
like I have like a day job that beats the crap out of me sometimes, but having a creative outlet is what you need. You get out
Yeah,
there and you be able to express yourself and do what you got to do, and you make peace with the fact that sometimes it takes a little longer to reach where you need to reach. You know,
usually. Yeah,
usually.
or less time. Sometimes it takes way less time than you think.
Some people stumble upon it, but I think like from all the stories I've heard, like a lot of people get into puppetry and everybody goes for that. Most people have that same idea, like, hey, how can I get a job at Henson? Or how can I get a job on Sesame Street? And I really think that's not for everybody.
No,
Yeah,
I thought that when I first started, like, oh,
I'm
I'll
sure.
work on Sesame Street, and now I'm like, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Yeah, you do
It
your own
just
thing.
depends on who you are and
Mhm.
like what you like.
I mean,
I'm just independent and stubborn, so I don't want
if
anyone telling me what to
opportunity
do.
knocks on your door one day, like, hey, we'd like to have you, you won't say no, right?
For Sesame Street?
Or like anything Muppet related or anything, you know?
Oh, I mean, I would definitely work on a
Yeah.
Muppet movie
Yeah.
or Muppet anything, but I can't imagine I would control an arm, which I would be perfectly happy to
Yeah.
do.
Why not?
I'm not going to be Kermit or anything like
Yeah.
that's
I've
he's
Yeah,
behind
I've
the
heard
corners.
stories of people that have worked arms for years. Like it's a
Yeah.
rite of passage thing there, I think, because
Yes.
there are
Assist.
not so many characters there, but you assist until or you understudy until something happens and you end up doing something main, or you lip sync something for somebody else because they're doing multiple characters that day, and you realize
Right.
that that universe is a lot smaller than you think. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
It's like 10 people.
yeah, it is like 10
People get
people.
those jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what, 4 people are the Muppets?
Mm-hmm.
Or dudes? Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
do.
I wouldn't want to be like, I would do a contract job being
Mm-hmm,
an arm.
mm-hmm,
Like, if being a puppeteer on a show like that were my full time job indefinitely, I know
mm-hmm.
that it wouldn't satisfy me. Like,
Yeah.
because then you're just an actor, and I need
Yeah.
to be the sort of the creator. I need to be the puppeteer behind my whole
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
vision.
You need to bring that to life your way. You need to see your vision doing things. That makes
Right. I
sense.
need to be the writer and director as
Mm-hmm,
well
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
as the puppeteer.
I
Yeah,
think that
which is kind of too many things.
it's not
But
that bad, but that's what like puppet slam culture is. I think that's what it does for us. It makes us independent. It makes us make our own work, and even like I've heard people who have met Jim say that because at the O'Neill I was talking to Bart Rockerburton Jr. because he was my
mhm.
mentor during the pandemic, but he said that Jim told him, "Hey, you're doing things that look a lot like the Muppets, but does that, or you want to do stuff like that, but does that really reflect what you want, out there? Is it something that you want to do? Is it your work? And
Yeah,
he would a lot of times like tell people, hey, try to find something new, try to find something that looks different, try to find something that's different because the Muppets have been done. Do something,
right.
yeah, that hasn't
Yeah,
been
but I
done.
think right. I think a lot of people do copy Jim's work because I mean, it's like
It's
so
good for TV.
quality
Yeah.
and has such a unique
Hmm.
voice. But something I had to realize over time was that
Hmm.
some people don't have a vision.
Hmm.
They like want to do the thing, but they might not be able to see the whole picture. Like you
Hmm.
can imagine Jim Henson probably saw this world
Hmm.
and then brought it to life.
Hmm.
But I think people sometimes they aren't leaders like that. They might just be followers, which is probably
Hmm.
why they're reading that work. And there's nothing
Hmm.
wrong with that because we all need
Yeah,
like
we all need that
collaboration.
kind of, yeah.
Right, exactly. But not everyone is like creating worlds in their mind.
I mean, I
Right.
think we all have that puppet universe in our mind that we'd like to see on TV or in a YouTube show or in some type of web series or something. We all have a story that we want to tell. And
Right.
is
Or
it
our own story.
extended? Yeah. Is it extended that far? Like, because Sesame Street and the Muppets are really deep. That's a whole universe that exists, you know? But do we really go that far as puppeteers or as writers and stuff? Like, has any of your pieces felt like it could go deep into a universe like that? Not necessarily Muppet styled, but like in general, like has it ever felt that?
I mean, when I took my live act Bunny Love, which is only
Hmm.
3 minutes long, and made it
Hmm.
into a film, which was
Hmm.
7 minutes long, I had to expand that world. Um, but it never felt quite like I don't think that world wanted to be expanded. It
Hmm.
didn't quite feel right.
Hmm.
If I had to make a feature film, I think
Hmm.
I could probably build a whole world.
Hmm.
But I'm a big fan of simplicity.
Hmm.
Um, I've definitely had ideas for like feature films where
Hmm.
I could really imagine like a whole set of characters and things going on.
Hmm.
Um, but I really hate sitting down to write stuff like that, so it
Too.
mostly just
I
stays in my
love
head.
I love collaborating with people that can write. I like
Mm,
writing, but I can't sit by myself and write. So it
yeah,
has to be in a
yeah,
writer's room, or it has to be collaborating with somebody. So
right.
recently, I've connected with well, he used to be one of my high school teachers back then, and now I mean we've been friends for almost 20 years now. And he's basically recently found puppetry, and he collaborates with me and stuff now. So he's part of my troupe. But because he's a teacher, he has so many stories to tell, or he has
Mm,
so much more collaborative energy. that it makes so much sense when we sit down and I can tell him, I'm thinking about this, and he sees it, and then we could work together. And I think that's where universes could come alive when you have people to bounce things off of. It makes sense
Yes,
that way. And
definitely.
back to what you said before, people think 3 minutes of film is a short time. It's not. It's not at all.
Yeah.
7 minutes, making 3 minutes into 7 minutes is so much.
Yeah, you really have
Yeah.
to stretch it.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Because doing a minute and a half for my first slam piece felt like an eternity.
Yeah.
That felt like a long time, because like I was like, when is this gonna end? How am I gonna fill this time with things that are happening? And that's where you
Yeah.
come up with little gimmicks and stuff. It's crazy.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and also when you're on stage, because
Yeah.
you've got people looking at you, time slows down. So like 2 seconds feels like a minute. You know, if you're forgetting a line or can't forget where you are, it's like, you know, so it feels like an eternity.
And I think that's when you're by yourself. It feels like if you're doing a slam piece and you're alone, it feels like an eternity. But if you're doing like something performance wise, I've only ever performed like in something Muppet styled at the O'Neill with Jim Krupa, and that was it. It was half an hour long, but it felt like a minute because it went by so quickly. We went through the bits so quickly that it just happened so fast, and it's weird to me, or it's funny to think that this happens so fast, but the minute you get on there by yourself, that time feels like
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
It's funny. I don't know. I know when I'm by myself, it's very slow, but I can try to think of collaborative situations. It must be because you can lean on someone else. The pressure isn't as intense, you know.
Yeah. And then there's so much happening and so much going on that it gets lost. By the time
you can kind of get lost in it.
So let's talk about workshops that you've done previously, because I know you've done other workshops before, and what we can expect in the future. Because I know recently you did one writing.
Right. Writing for puppetry. The one I've done the most is the solo puppet workshop, which is sort of geared towards creating puppet slam acts. I started doing that during the pandemic and taught it a few times and saw some really fun stuff come out of it. Like puppeteers are really unique. Like artists in general, I love, but puppeteers specifically, like they think both like artists and like engineers. And their ideas can be so incredible and original. So the workshops I've done where people perform at the end, it's really fun because you get to actually see these acts. And even in the writing classes, when the ideas that people come up with, and it's almost more fun because then you don't have to like bring it into the material world yet. You kind of play around in that world before you have to create it, which is where you start hitting roadblocks and like, well, how are we going to do that? I find it all really inspiring, and like the people that come through, even if they're complete beginners, and oftentimes they always have some really original idea. And what I try to teach is storytelling, like sort of basic storytelling based on the hero's journey, and like Joseph Campbell's work on myth and how a hero goes through, it's kind of an arc. Main character hits conflict a few times and then it resolves at the end. Like that's a story in a nutshell. So, I try to encourage students just to keep it as simple as possible, especially if they're alone. We work a little bit on like puppetry technique. I give them notes if they're performing live. But my main thing that I really lean into is encouraging strong storytelling, because I've seen a lot of puppet slams and I've seen a lot of beautiful puppet pieces where it was cool to watch, but like there was no connection for me, because there's nobody teaching puppeteers how to tell stories, and like what makes it good. And I think puppetry is so much stronger when there's a good story to be told.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's that's my pitch.
I think some stories with puppets sometimes don't work well with puppets. There are some stories that I think you can do anything with puppets, but there are some things I think that just sometimes, as you say, you don't get that arc in the story. Like, where is the story going? How am I going to find that resolve? It's really and truly because there's writing that needs to be done to make this something worthwhile, you know?
Right. Yeah. Do you have any? Well, I don't want to ask for specific examples, but I'm curious as to like where you've seen puppetry.
I'd like to say it, but I shouldn't here.
Yeah, you shouldn't say it. When the recording stops.
When the recording stops, I'll talk about that because I mean my experience with it is that, you know, there's some things that really caught my attention, and there's some things that I really struggled to see what's happening in that universe, because the person created like a beautiful universe, but then when you really get into it, it's like, what are you trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
What's really happening, you know? I mean, I know what's happening. Like you get to that point that you know, but where are we going? Or does it really lend well to puppets? You know?
Yeah, because you're really taking an audience on a journey, and puppetry itself is so imaginative that, like, I'm entering into this world. I want you to take me somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, and you see, John, like, I think people that aren't inclined to necessarily tell stories, you can take, like, I'm thinking of this beautiful piece that is a shadow piece done to a poem, and that works well because, like, it's a poem, so it's kind of already got its own arc. You know, or taking a fairy tale and adapting it. That's a way to sort of go around having to really work out a story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm inclined to say, like, I think you can tell any story with puppetry because there's so many different styles. But maybe I'm not right about that.
Who knows? And then again, it could just be my personal preference with things. It doesn't mean that it's bad in any way. You know, it doesn't mean that.
Right.
It just means that I'm just tasteless, maybe. Who knows?
And no, we all have taste.
And I like seeing bonk on the head puppets instead of, you know, something that's, you know, very intense. Who knows? Maybe it's just me. Yeah. Maybe it's just me.
Right. I was surprised when I got into puppetry how much like moody, dark puppetry there is, because I've imagined it all being like whimsical, muppety stuff, but no, there's a lot of moody people doing puppetry.
There's a lot of feelings, and there's a lot of brooding, and there's a lot of really intense pieces out there. Totally. I always said I've met one person that was probably the most interesting person I've ever met at the O'Neill, and his name is Play-Doh. I don't know if you ever came across Play-Doh.
No.
Play-Doh is he's a traveling puppeteer, from what I understand. He drives around the place. He does puppet slams all over the place. He does a puppet slam called Namaste, I think. He teaches workshops and stuff, but his stuff is nuts. It's like, how did you think about this? He has a piece that he does with these guys, and they're in a cave, and they're prisoners in a cave hanging like this, and little puppets. And it's called Cave of Despacito. And the person is torturing the guys in the cave playing Despacito from Justin Bieber. But the dialogue that happens in there with it's nuts. And then he does another bit for a slam where he's making a drink with absinthe and explaining absinthe. And he's talking about it, but there's a puppet show happening behind him. And his ideas are like so strange and out there and crazy. And I'm like, how does somebody come up with these things? And then the last bit he did at the O'Neill was a piece called Man, Baby, Baby, Man. So it's a guy painted up to look like the puppet that he has, which is a marionette that's a baby. And it was weird lights and moving and telekinesis and shapes and crazy. But you wonder, what inspires crazy things like this? And like, you just sit down in awe, like, wow, what did I just see?
Wow.
Yeah. But
cool.
Definitely look up Play-Doh. Play-Doh is crazy. Play-Doh, like the Play-Doh you play with, yeah.
Play-Doh. Okay,
Play-Doh,
I was thinking Play-Doh philosopher.
Yeah. No. I don't know why he calls himself Play-Doh, but he creates really crazy universes for his stories, and he's really invested in it. Like, he gets in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
a true artist. Yeah, sometimes, you don't, if something's weird and visual enough, you don't necessarily need to tell a story. It's just
But he tells a story. He tells a story, but he tells a really crazy story.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Nice.
Like it goes places that you don't even know it's gonna go.
Oh, damn. Yeah. Okay, I'd like to see that.
I don't want to ruin it for you. You need to experience Play-Doh for yourself.
Okay, one of those things.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so I think we'll win you on time, but I'm just gonna get it out there. You have a workshop coming up, and is there anything else that you'd like to plug in before we close up?
It's a good question. People should get on my email list because I send out updates on workshops, and I try to share stuff going on in the puppetry world. I want to start, giving more tips on good writing and trying to figure out what my content strategy is going to be. But yeah, I share what I'm up to on my email list. Like I get more personal than on social media. So yeah, I would encourage people to get on that, and that's just on my website.
Get on that Pam Severns.
PamSeverns.com.
Yeah, get on that PamSeverns.com. Yeah. I saw recently something really interesting on your newsletter when I was looking about a residency somewhere. And at
the McDowell. Yeah, that's in New Hampshire. It's an artist residency. It's a fellowship actually because they give you a stipend to go and they pay for your travel. So you actually are getting paid to go and do a residency.
Okay.
It's like this 100-year-old artist colony, and it's acres and acres of wooded land, and they have just cabins kind of dotted all over. So they give you a cabin. You can stay, I think, up to 2 months. I was there for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And it was February, so it was the middle of winter, which was really beautiful because I had fires and like it was just cozy and perfect. And then meals are provided. They bring lunch to you in your cabin because you're working on your stuff during the day, and then in the evening you have dinner with all the other artists, and it's a delightful experience. Like I think everyone should apply, and you do have to pitch a project to them and like give them an outline of how you're gonna approach that project. But they don't hold you to anything. Like they just want to give you space to create. Like I didn't have to perform.
You don't have to finish this. It's
you don't have to do anything. And I felt I wasn't particularly structured when I was there. I was kind of just exploring, what I wanted to do, and I felt a lot of guilt about it. But yeah, I did. I was like, I should be like really working on something. But there were other people there that had been there several times and said like, there are some people that just come here and relax. Like they don't, they're just taking a break. Like it's fine to just to not necessarily
not do anything.
Work. Yeah, I mean, I was doing stuff. I definitely was filling my days, but it was not like one particular project that I was working on. So it's great. It's a really cool experience. Yeah, and then there's other stuff coming up. I can't remember what I put in my newsletter. The Fringe Festival.
Yeah, the Fringe Festival.
Dragon Con in Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah.
You heading down there?
No, I can't handle that many people. Like I'm alone in a cabin in the woods for a week.
So. I get that.
Yeah, I did Dragon Con in 2018, I think. And I was part of the National Puppet Slam and the Late Night Puppet Slam there. And it was very overwhelming. It was a lot to just be in that like density of other human beings. But it was cool too. Like there were really cool costumes and great workshops and fun people to hang out with. So yeah, it's cool. But if you're overwhelmed by crowds, like beware. You might be in your hotel room a lot.
Yeah. I think a lot of festivals and stuff could do that to you, like because there's, as you said, there's a concentration of artists and talent, and it gets to you. But it's a good place to get inspired to sometimes, or just have fun. Like just head out there and look at stuff and go to a workshop and
see what's going on. Yeah, they have celebrity guests and stuff, and it's a cool scene. Yeah. Did you go? Or are you going to go?
I don't know. I'm in Trinidad. I can't go anywhere.
You're not. You're allowed to fly places.
I can fly places. I can.
Yeah. Did you go to the National Puppetry Festival?
I did not. I had to work.
Yeah.
I had to work. I always have to work. I have to go
Yeah.
to work just now. Like when I'm done with this call, I get dressed. I go to work.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jobs. The worst.
Jobs. But they feed us.
That's true.
Yeah, we get food. Um, I really, I'm really thinking about looking into the, is it the McDowell you said?
McDowell. Yeah.
McDowell. I would like to.
McDowell.
I would like to. It sounds fun. Yeah.
It's really
Going
cool,
in.
and they could
Yeah.
use more puppeteers.
Oh, it's
Like
not. It's not.
mostly writers,
It's not like a puppeteer thing. It's like an artist thing.
it's artists. Yeah. So there were like fabric artists there. There were musicians, composers, a lot of writers. I think me and one other person were the only performers at the time.
Okay.
So yeah, which I love. I like the diversity.
I think puppeteers spice up everything. You know, like we drop in there, and we do everything. Like
right. Yeah.
I don't think I ever met a puppeteer that won't say, I can play an instrument, or I can paint, or I can do something. Because puppets take everything and wrap it into
They really
one
do.
thing.
Yeah,
Like
it's all of the things.
Yeah.
I think filmmaking is like that too.
Mhm. Like I tell people, I'm probably not the best musician. I'm probably not the best artist. I'm probably not the best sculptor. But when you put all that together into puppetry, it becomes something so much more beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same for me.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to stop our conversation. That's going so well, and I don't want to.
You have to
I
go to
don't
work.
want to. You have to go to work. Damn work. If anyway, let's see. What do you have to say to the good people of Trinidad and Tobago about puppets? I ask everybody. This is the closing question.
What do I have to say to them?
What do you have to say to them?
Find what works for you.
Yeah, go ahead. Find what works for you.
And don't listen to anybody's advice. And everyone's wrong.
Everyone's wrong.
Yeah, especially people that aren't puppeteers. Well, especially people that are puppeteers. Don't listen to anybody. Just do what you want.
Yeah, just do what you want to do. Just get in there and do it.
Right.
And go up on stage and do an arm fart bit.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it didn't get me anywhere, but it was fun.
How do you know? How do you know that somebody's going to remember that?
It's someone's memory of me, probably.
If I were there and I saw that, I'd be like, wow, that's, you know, that's what I'm going to remember. You know?
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's awesome, you know? It's brilliant. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's stop. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I love that cabin. Thank you for being an awesome puppeteer and talking to me. We'll possibly invite you for the end of the series where we'll have a party on Zoom.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Zoom party.
Nice. How big is the Unima in
Trinidad? It's not very big.
5 people?
It's getting there. It's getting there.
Yeah.
We're actually doing, as I said, the first Puppet Slam ever on September 9th. And hopefully that brings a little more, you know, inclusiveness or community to Trinidad and puppets and stuff. I have like a small unit of people that are interested and that have supported and stuff, and I hope to somehow get that community bigger, you know. That's why I'm doing this, you know. I'm talking to puppeteers from around the place that I know and that are awesome, and that people could hear your journey and so somehow decide, hey, maybe I could do that too. Yeah, I'll plug in like your YouTube stuff and hopefully some pictures, because you have a lot of like cool pictures up there. So I'll post some photos and stuff. If that's okay. You can send some stuff to me. Yeah.
If it's online, it's
fine.
So yeah, use whatever you want.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.